Hello, everybody. This is Christian from the Binghamton Download Show.
And this is Steven from the Bing Download.
It's the same thing. Don't listen to him.
Don't listen to Christian.
So, I'm going to have a guest speaker tonight, but couldn't make it. It's fine. We're going to talk tonight about persistence versus patience. Delusion, I think, comes in there somewhere. If you're persisting at something that's, like a lost cause, when do you stop? Like, when is persistence too much? But I think what we really want to concentrate on, persistence and patience, they really go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And, oftentimes, especially my business, it's hard to tell if I'm doing the right thing or if I'm just being delusional and should stop. And I'm sure everybody feels like that. And not just with business, but with anything. Whether it's a workout or something, there's been a lot of times where I've been just working out and fuck, am I gonna die? Pass out? Seriously, throw up all over? When's a good time to stop?
A lot of times I feel like, a workout's a weird example, but with your business, or with anything like a business, you're, creating content or you're moving towards something and you're seeing growth, then persistence is still definitely the way to go. When you see, it hit a dead end, and it's, everyone hits a dead end every once in a while. You hit a spot where... It's
more of a plateau.
Well, that's what I mean. You'll hit a dead end, but it's not just a speed bump in the road where you hit one little dead end and you're done. But when you see consistent dead end, when you see that plateau and it flattens for an extended period of time, that's when you should know that it's probably time to hang it up.
Right, when you stop.
Something new.
Yeah.
But, like you said, with your business, your experience, in the past 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months, you've experienced a tremendous amount of growth. Mm. So obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah. And it's one of those things I don't know, when you own a business, it's when something goes wrong, you can't blame anybody. And that goes back to our one podcast. There's some things that, they're out of control, or out of your control, but, just because that, you have to almost react, that was the whole point of that podcast, was to react to everything as if it was your fault.
Well, you got to own the reaction. You can't explain what happens around you. You own your own reaction to it, though.
Yeah, and I think having an understanding that you're not in control, but then react to certain situations as if you had a part to do with that, and in order to grow, that's the key. In order to grow, if you just want to sit there and blame yourself, this is just sort of recapping. If you want to sit there and blame yourself and not do anything with it, then it's pointless. Pointless to do that. So, but yeah, oftentimes, customers upset or something's happening, there's a lot of things that are out of your control. And that's sort of sometimes where I constantly think of other people's businesses, a gym owner wouldn't have a problem like this, or somebody that owned, I don't know, a gas station or a restaurant wouldn't have to, there's just, I feel like I have very high liability in what I do, and any service job would have that, right?
Yeah, and that's, it's one of those things, a gym may not have the problems you're having, but they may have, problems that obviously you don't have.
Oh, absolutely.
Every business has their own, and that's, I worked for an IT company for a while, and, their biggest thing is, technology is great when it's working. Yeah. But especially in the business world, when your technology is not working, you're at a standstill. You need internet. You need your email to work. And, these customers would, call, and half the time, they aren't necessarily upset with, whoever's trying to help them, whatever, but they're angry that something kind of broke in the first place, and they're just frustrated with the situation.
Absolutely.
And, it's trying to manage that situation so it doesn't happen in the first place, and trying to fix it as quickly as possible, which just sometimes is... It's tough to do because sometimes the problems, they're never the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that comes down... I was trying to reverse engineer, why do I feel like that? And it's because, when you install these aquariums in people's homes, you're the only person really to blame. if you don't educate somebody on how to treat it, properly educate them, then there's a high chance that they're just not gonna do a good job. Like the people that have the most luck are the people that actually listen to me. Not all my customers,
Well, it's one of those things. Good kind of example of kind of owning your failures is, you've had a couple of customers who, went and bought the wrong fish or fish that they shouldn't have for the kind of tank they want, and
right.
You own that failure, saying, I should have given them a listing, or these are fish for the tank you want that you should get.
Here's
these are ones you definitely
fish
shouldn't
get, right? Yeah.
And you owned that failure, and you did something to change it. You didn't say, oh crap, I screwed up,
and I'm going to cry about it. Yeah.
But you said, okay, so what could I do to fix it to improve for the next time, for
right.
the next customer, which is what you have to do.
And that could be persistence, instead of just taking it as a failure and go, I don't know,
it's just
not going well. I need to do, that's persistent. But then, I've been really interested on like the delusion part. I don't think that I'm delusional with this business, but like the delusion part, like how would you know, like at what point, like trying to put myself in this, like what would have to happen for me to be like delusional about the expectancy of this business? Like, is this business being able to do $100,000 a year in 5-10 years? Like, is that like delusion? I don't know. Like, that's not what it's really about for me, but I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I don't
know if necessarily setting a goal like that and not reaching or anything would be delusional. I mean, you'd want to set...
Well, it's very arbitrary.
Well, it's arbitrary, but you can look at your past, you can look at, your current growth rates and things like that and say, okay, so by this point I want to be, based on how I've been growing, I think I should be able to hit around this number.
Right.
So if you say, all right, in 2 years I want to do, $100,000 in sales, that's probably a little delusional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you were to say, 10 years down the road, if you want to try and do somewhere around that number,
definitely.
I think that's definitely not a delusion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it's all about looking at realistic figures. Some people, they just kind of arbitrarily think of, I should be able to do this. And
I should be a millionaire by 28. Like,
yeah.
What does that even have anything to do? Like, I hear that a lot, like, oh, when I make it, I don't know, it's weird stuff. But, so, like, if I had to define persistence, it would be, I don't know, for some reason I just got the thought, like, patience is not jumping ahead when things are going good, and persistence is still pushing forward when things aren't doing good. Mm-hmm. And like I don't know why that just popped in my head, but I feel like that's a very good way to sort of define them. At least for me, because like persistence, like resistance is in there. It almost sounds like it almost sounds like the word resistance. So it's like pushing past that resistance and getting, pushing towards your goal. And patience is just sort of like, oh, I'm gonna relax. Not like relax, but like just take a step back and just sort of like not be anxious or not try to push too much. Like, I don't know if you could have one without the other. I think that, not even like in the good bad sense of it, but like you need to be able to persist, but then at the same time, like not want to be a millionaire by 25 because of you want to be, right?
Well, it's for me, the mix of patience and persistence has to do. It kind of goes back to, there's an old saying, good things come to those who wait. Mm-hmm. But at the same token, a lot of people have been told throughout their lives, if you want something, you have to go and get it. Mm-hmm. So that's really kind of what persistence for me is. Like, if you really want something, you have to go and get it. Despite every setback, despite every bump on the road, you have to keep pushing forward to get it. But it's one of those things when you first start out doing something and first set out to, towards a goal, you have to be patient in that it's not going to happen overnight.
So you're saying like you need to have persistence day to day, but then like 5-10 years you need just to be patient.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like micro speed, like micro just hustle, like doing all your shit. Then long term or macro patience.
Yeah.
So I think this is it's just another way, like, I don't know, they mean, like, I have a certain way to define them depending on the context, I guess. But yeah, I definitely think, I like what you said with the short term and the day to day versus the, do persistence
Well,
long enough to be
saying,
patient.
certain people, like, even, they'll say, like, 5 years down the road, I want to be a millionaire. And it's just, a lot of times it's not realistic. I mean, for certain situations, depending on the situation you come from.
If you're on the path, right?
If you're on the path, if you're, born into, family with money.
Living at home making $150
you have
a year.
connections, and you can get a really good job right out of college. Like, sure, maybe you'll be a millionaire by 25. If you're Mark Zuckerberg and create Facebook, you might be a millionaire by the age of 25.
Right.
But for most of us here on planet Earth,
99% of us.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. You can definitely work your way up to it, but you have to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight.
That's the other thing too. It's like they almost complement each other. Like you don't have one without the other. Or
you can't.
You can persist, and
it's easy to use the $1 million example. And it's good to go with, but like, you're not gonna just be able to sit around and be patient and make $1 million without putting in hard work. You need that persistence. You need to put in the hard work in order to get there.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is if you're persistent day to day, but then you expect something to happen tomorrow, then, it's not going to happen. What's an example that you've experienced where, you've played sports, so that's got to be something that's probably fresh in your mind, over the course of your sports career, just persisting at becoming a better player, I would imagine, and then finally persisting for so long, eventually have the payoff, because both of these they're to what? Like, it's persistence and patience to become a better businessman or become a millionaire.
Whatever your goal is.
Right, become the goal. So,
you asked about a sports example. So I was a big lacrosse player for my whole life, and my goal was basically to make it on a college team, and I eventually did that. Mm-hmm. It didn't last long due to injury, but I did make it. I did get that payoff.
The little smirk you had there at the end.
I
made it to a college team, and then I got hurt. Yeah, but that's but now you're back in the situation. You're back in the same boat you were before. Almost, it's just like now if you want to, and maybe it's not now you don't want to be on a college team, but maybe now you want to, be able to play at 80% of the ability that you had before, or 100% of the ability that you had before, and by slowly getting back, and I'm sure with physical therapy after the surgery and everything, slowly persisting and then building up to the level that you're at. And I don't even know if you still play now, but if that was a goal for you, it's just an interesting, in sports and any athletics, anything physical is a really good example. School's a good example, obviously.
The coolest thing about it is in anything, when you go through setbacks, you didn't lose any real ability, or you don't lose it for long. Yes, I had surgery and I did physical therapy and I came back, but there comes a certain point where, I'm physically able to do everything just about that I did before, and it all becomes a mental game.
Right.
Where, when you have a setback, in your business, whether it's, you said a customer complaint or something like that, it's something that goes through your head, and it becomes a mental game of, can you get over the mental aspect of it? Can I trust my knee enough to make the cuts I want to make? Even though, it is strong enough, it is surgically repaired, I've built the muscle back. Can my mind get over the fact that, I was so dependent on my other leg for so long, and so scared to even walk on that.
Put weight on it.
Put weight on, my hurt leg for so long. Can my mind get over that and really just continue to go forward?
And that's something that I've been really trying to exercise. Man, mental game is just, it's on a different level, obviously. It's just by really, really trying, when there is a setback, or, you don't get an account, or anything that's really a setback in your personal business or athletic life or anything, getting past it. You almost just gotta literally just imagine it washing off your back, water off the back or whatever. But the thing I hate the worst is when a customer's fish dies. I hate that. It just makes me feel like I don't do my job, or I'm doing something wrong. When in reality, we're trying to keep something that's about the size of a quarter alive. You know what I'm saying? This thing has a heart that's the size of a freaking eraser with a pencil, you know, and it's just
that's
like
being generous.
and that's like, you know, and I had, because this recently happened, like someone got a sick fish infected